you so much for coming to my junior piano recital. It means the world to me you're here. I'm very excited about this program. I'm very excited to share with you what I've been working on these past few years. So, the first two pieces I'll be playing are by Ottorino Respighi. He was an Italian composer, born in the city where I used to live in Italy, Bologna. So I immediately felt an affinity with him. I walked down the streets, the same streets that he did. The first of the pieces I'll be playing is called Valse Caressante, and this piece reminds me of one of my piano teachers growing up, Ivana Lazarov. She taught me how to play a waltz when I was 9 years old, and the first two lines of this waltz were the exact same notes twice, like copy-paste. And so when I saw this, I thought, fantastic, I've already learned 2 lines of the piece, don't need to worry about it, this is already done. And so I played the first 2 lines, and she said, mm-mm. I was like, wait, I played it perfectly. And she said, no, the 2 lines must be different. Why did the composer repeat the line? Why did he want to do that? What are you going to tell the audience by repeating that line? And I'll never forget that. It really made me start thinking about what am I really trying to say as I perform. The second piece I'll be playing is Notturno. It is a piece of the night, a piece for the evening. And this one makes me think of another piano teacher of mine, Walter Orsinger, teacher in Italy. With him, I worked on a piece called Twilight Way, so also a nighttime piece. And so I see a lot of similarities once again between these 2 pieces. And with him, I'm so grateful that he allowed me to pick new music, find music, and just be like, hey, I think this sounds pretty, can I play it? And he was always game. And this just really encouraged me to find new music and explore all sorts of different styles. And so I'll always be indebted to him and his encouragement. Let's begin. The next piece I'll be playing, Le Reflet dans l'eau by Claude Debussy. Debussy, very famous composer, known for composing Clair de Lune. I played Clair de Lune when I was 12, and Marco Buscetta taught me how to play this piece. And this was the first time where I felt like I was playing music. Marco Buscetta, he brought me this brand new book. There was Debussy's face on the front. It looked super professional, like we were serious at this point. And he taught me very seriously how to play this piece. Those first two notes, critical, so important. We spent hours playing those first two notes. What is the composer trying to say? What are you trying to say? This piece isn't Clair de Lune, but it's Reflections in the Water. It's kind of the same, it has the same sound to it. It's an impressionist piece, and so there's no strict story or program the composer is trying to tell you. It's more of like, well, Reflections in the Water is from a collection called Images. So he just wants you to feel reflections in the water. And it is beautiful the way he does it in this piece. You have repeating motions in the right hand, reflections. You have these shimmering parts where the right hand just goes up and down the piano, it's just... And then there's another part where the right hand is playing these little arpeggios, and then the left hand is just like growing in the bottom, like multiple layers in the water. So I'm really excited by this piece. definitely let this on. Okay. The next set of pieces I'll be playing are by Cuban composer Ernesto Lecuona. I love Lecuona's pieces, and I am so excited to play these. The first three pieces are from his collection called Andalucía, and it's inspired by some places and some cities and some palaces in Andalucía, a part of Spain. The first one is Andaluza, so kind of same theme. The second one is Alhambra. The Alhambra is this enormous fortress, an Islamic fortress that took centuries to build. And there's the middle section of this piece just evokes this beautiful building. The third piece is Gitanerías. This is about the Gitanos, about flamenco music. So this piece is very fun. It has lots of fun accents. It's very fun to play. The last piece I'll be playing by Lecuona is Ante el Escorial. The Escorial is a building in Spain. It is actually part of the Spanish royal buildings, palaces. It has a monastery, a hospital, a library. It's an enormous building, once again. And this piece starts with these very big chords and ends with very big chords. And I like to think about it, you get to the building, you go inside, and you leave, and you're still in awe. These pieces remind me of my high school piano teacher, Dr. Olga Kleankina, who is actually here today, and I'm so happy she is here. These pieces make me think of her because she introduced me to a piece called Alborada del Gracioso by Ravel, a French composer. But in these pieces, he was also honoring his own roots, his Spanish roots. And the rhythms of that piece just made a flip switch in my brain. And I thought, this is a side of classical music I've never heard before. And I've been chasing this sound ever since. So you will hear a lot of this fun Spanish sound in these next few pieces. invite my good friend Monet to come up, because the next piece I'll be playing is the first movement of Schumann's Piano Concerto. Concertos are normally played with a solo instrument and the entire orchestra. So Monet is playing the entire orchestra's part with me, so I'm really grateful for her help. Robert Schumann composed this piece. It wasn't originally a concerto. It started off as a fantasy for piano and orchestra, a shorter piece. And then when he and his wife, Clara, who was a talented and famous composer in her own right, fell in some hard times, he expanded it to a full concerto. It wasn't a resounding success when it first premiered by Clara. She was the one who performed it first. But Clara, after Robert's death, performed it over and over and over again. In fact, I think I wrote the program from like 1845 to 1900, she was like the most, she performed it the most times. Robert and Clara's relationship is not one that's forgotten. Clara also composed a piece called Theme and Variations on a Theme by Robert Schumann. And in the last variation, I played these last year. The last variation, there's this sweeping right hand and left hand arpeggio. And on the score, it looks like a big heart. In this piece, the main theme is C, B, A, A. You'll hear that over and over again. And it's not uncommon it wasn't uncommon, it still isn't uncommon for composers to write things in their music. C, B, A, A. In Germany, sometimes the B would be swapped out for an H. C, H, A, A. Clara, if you say it in Italian, it's Chiara. C, H, I, A, R, A. So he could have been spelling his wife's name in the main theme of this piece. It's not confirmed. That might have been a little too much reading through the lines, but honestly, I love to hear it. Oh, wait. I forgot. The only reason I'm playing this piece is because of Dr. Claude. I've been studying with her for the past 3 years, and she has pushed me beyond what I could have imagined. Dr. Olga Klenkina got me ready for college. I didn't even know I wanted to study music, and because of her I did. And then now here I am with Dr. Yang keeping it going, and I am so grateful for all her support these past few years. It has been incredible. I'm also grateful for my very first piano teacher, Dr. Marilyn Cooperman. I started lessons when I was about 6 years old, and when I turned 9, I was like, 3 years of music? This is great. I can stop right here. I wanted to quit. I didn't want to hear any more music. I was done. And Marilyn told me one day, Camilla, one does not simply quit music. I was like, okay. And I'm so glad she told me that, because here I am now, loving music more than ever. I do have an encore.
Oh.
Thank you so much. This piece is Malagueña by Ernesto Lecuona once again. This was actually the very first piece I heard. Well, there are recordings of him playing these pieces, but this was the first Lecuona piece I ever heard, and I was immediately in love. So I'll be playing Malagueña for you all.